Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Mining Now. My name is Rory Bamford, and today I will be guest hosting along with my co-host, Gaudy Molina.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Are you ready?
I think so. Yeah, it's good. We got a lot of good information. Today, we are featuring General Kinematics on the show, and we will be joined by Derek Kerkera. Let's hope I got that right. And he is General Kinematics mining director and has actually been with GK for 45 years now. So I'm excited to have them on the show. Also, I should probably get into our partner on the Mining Now. Or actually, I'll let you take that.
I'll definitely take it over.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with our sponsors. First up, we have Railware. Railware believes haulage for modern mining should be clean, safe, and profitable. That's why their truly autonomous material haulage system is the winner of the 4th annual Mining Clean Tech Challenge. Underground or on surface, the Railware customized solution is the sustainable option. They'd love to roll up your sleeves alongside them. So email info@railware.com and check out the website at railware.com. Follow them on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Move your mining operation into the future with Railware. Next up, we also have Innovinta. Innovinta Group of Companies is presenting a panel on May 19th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. The topic is out-of-the-box thinking, how IoT technologies enable mine transformation to future-proof operations. The topic, abstract mining is underground, a shift towards Industry 4.0 and is experiencing new challenges and benefits. As this shift occurs, mines are finding new opportunities to improve production, safety, and cost savings. Technological change is here, and early implementation has risks, but waiting has the greater risk of leaving you at a competitive disadvantage. Join them to discuss and prepare for the impacts and benefits of Industry 4.0. Their session will give insight into the opportunities currently available and what is next from top innovation companies in the mining industry. It is free, virtual, and panelists include Trang Tran Valad, Forte, Glenn Deganes, Bestech, Ron Bose, and XPS. Moderator Don Duval from NORCAT. And for more information, you can check out their social media LinkedIn page for the Eventbrite link to register. Or you can also reach out to Alyssa Sabarine at Alyssa_Sabarine at innoventa.com. We also have Radai. Radai is a high-tech company which offers cutting-edge geophysical measurement services using unmanned aerial vehicles. Radai's tailor-made field survey services consists of magnetic fields measurements and data processing, geophysical data processing and modeling, thermal and infrared imaging, aerial digital elevation models and volume estimations, and so much more. Radai services are suitable for a wide variety of applications like mineral exploration, geological mapping, environmental monitoring, and more. You can visit their website at radai.fi. Again, that's radai, radai.fi to learn more. We are also sponsored by The Bucket Shop. The Bucket Shop provides wear solutions for all mining bucket applications that extend life cycles of 3 to 4 times. They can help clients improve productivity and reduce operating costs by providing innovative options, including their 5-piece cast lip system, cast heel shrouds, and mechanical 2 and 5-piece buckets with optional disposable front ends. Beyond buckets, they also provide truck box assemblies and liners, custom builds, undercarriage systems, ground engaging tools, and abrasive blasting and painting. Begin your savings today and visit thebucketshop.ca. And also, of course, we have Power Zone equipment. When you need a specialized team of world-class engineers for your oil and gas pipelines, dewatering, or any fluid handling needs, you want to visit powerzone.com. In addition to their inventory of rebuilt pumps, motors, engines, they also have an amazing team to design and engineer your systems, no matter the challenge, no matter the location. Get in the zone with Power Zone. Visit them at powerzone.com. And last but not least, we have to mention, because it's coming up, don't forget to register CIM 2021 Convention and Expo coming this May 3rd to 6th. And of course, it is a virtual event, so it's never been easier to attend. Get insight from industry leaders like Anglo American's Mark Cutifani, Caterpillar's Denise Johnson, Torex Gold's Jody Kuzenko, and many more. Explore mining operations through virtual site tours, find the solutions and the expertise you need with technical talks, Q&A sessions, and of course, the CIM Expo, Canada's mining marketplace. Again, that's May 3rd to 6th, and you can register today at CIM.org. Perfect. That was a long one.
That was a full lineup there, Gabby.
Yeah, it was.
Oh no, never mind. I almost went to say, did we mention CIM? But you just mentioned CIM. So I'll wake up here. So I guess we're good to go then, and bring on Derek. So Derek, welcome to Mining Now. It's great to have you.
Nice to see you again, Rick.
So we can jump right into it. I wanted to basically start off and give the audience an overview of what General Kinematics does, what you specialize in, and just go into that initially.
Well, General Kinematics gets into quite a few different things. You know, we make equipment, vibratory equipment for all different industries, mining being one of those. I mean, that's our latest attack is on the mining industry. But we also get into food, chemical, foundry, and many other things.
Okay, I see. Going into the mining specifically, what are like types of equipment that you provide for that sector?
We make grinding drums, we make feeders, we make conveying systems, and the biggest thing we make really is the STM-SCREENs, our two-mast technology screens.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to get into those STM. Actually, we were going to get into a bit of a case study as well, I think, later on in the show. And I think that one featured an STM screen.
Yes.
Is that one of your most prevalent products?
Yes, it's the game changer to the industry. It's very different, very unique. So it's something that not many people are accustomed to seeing in an industry. And once they do see it, they're quite surprised at the capabilities it does have.
So does that get in? You briefly mentioned the two-mast system. Does that feature that as well?
Yes, it does.
Maybe let's get into that a bit, just to kind of outline, because that seems to be very prevalent across all the work you're doing, especially in mining. Would you be able to explain that to the audience, because they may not be familiar with that process?
Well, it's quite a lengthy way to describe it, but most people in the industry are accustomed to brute force equipment or single mass equipment.
Okay.
Whereas the material conveys on a surface, and that same surface has a eccentric weight mounted to it, and it drives it through that eccentric weight. And that's just one single mass. When you get into two-mass technology, it's very unique. You actually have the same carrying surface to carry the material, but then in between that and the driving force, you actually have a bank of springs. And the bank of springs, between that and the weight, it creates a frequency, a natural frequency, say. And it takes a lot less energy, a lot less horsepower, because you're exciting a smaller mass that will in turn excite the larger mass. And so it's very unique, very different from that standpoint.
Okay. And so in getting into that, so all the items or all the piece of equipment that you mentioned, is the two-mast being used in all that equipment you're providing to the mining sector?
Well, we make both. We actually make brute force single-mast equipment and two-mast equipment. Each has its own place where it actually works very well. And in other areas, it does not. When you get into larger capacities, larger tonnages, the two-mast walks away from the industry. It stands head and shoulders well above the rest.
Oh, okay. So I don't know, maybe I already asked this in a different way, but like what equipment in mining can benefit from the two-mast? Like you mentioned the screens. Is there other equipment as well?
Yeah, there's feeders that we use. You see a lot in the coal mines. You'll see feeders They'll either use belt feeders or vibratory feeders, and we've been doing that since 1960 with a 2-mass technology. But the drums that we make for grinding and any of the conveying equipment, it all utilizes the 2-mass technology.
Okay. Excellent. So that's a good overview. So getting into, I guess, like challenges that your customers are coming to you with, and we'll probably the 2-mass, we'll get into it more throughout the show, but when they're coming to you for your equipment, why are they choosing General Kinematics?
Well, they're actually a little apprehensive or nervous at first until they actually talk to people that currently does use it, or they see it firsthand. But they come to us because we can do something that nobody else can do, and that is in the same footprint. Say a customer happens to have a 3685 screen in place, and it might only be capable of doing 2,400 tons an hour. We can actually fit in that same exact footprint and do much higher capacities than that, 40 to 50% higher capacities than what they.
Oh, really? So 40 to 50% higher. So that obviously, with that, even if there's more cost up front to the customer, they can get that return much quicker.
Oh, yes, absolutely. The return is very quick. If you look especially if you look at different types of materials, copper or gold, I mean, it's returned in a matter of days, ironically. Really? But if you look at just gaining, an extra 1,000 tons per hour, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of return.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was, I don't know if you can do this off the top of your head, but like in the kind of getting into that, like companies are coming to you, and I saw some case studies on your website where you're kind of giving the ROI calculations. So like we have an example here where it's like there's a reliability portion of it and there's the efficiency of it. Yes. Can you go into that in a little bit more detail as well?
Well, the reliability of the machine is unbelievable. That's the thing that the industry is really not accustomed to seeing. If a current screen from brand X happens to be in a facility, it might only last 6 months. If they're lucky, they might get up to 2 years out of it, which is very long for a lot of applications. We're seeing many applications out there that the machines are failing within a year's time. We've got machines out there now that have been running anywhere from 5 to 8 years with no issue structurally at all. The latest one that we put in, it's not the latest screen we installed, but it's another case study screen for us up in British Columbia, Canada. It's coming up on 2 years now without a single failure. And the previous machine that it replaced actually failed every 2 months.
Every 2 months. So and is that like parts? Like I saw one thing that it's like some of these customers that you're working with, they were spending just hundreds of thousands just in like the parts and the upkeep.
Correct. We actually sold that one based upon a maintenance budget alone. And it was just on the maintenance that they were seeing from constantly repairing that other screen. It was a 13-month payback.
Really?
For that particular application. That took nothing else in consideration. That was just the maintenance alone.
So if you get into like that unit, were they using, I guess before it's a brute force type screen. So then is there, with the 2-mass system screen that you have, is it reducing? It sounds like it's reducing drastically, like even the number of parts that are being used. Is that basically what you have built or what you're building? No,
it actually has more parts, ironically.
Oh.
It actually has, because of the 2-mass design, it has an upper and lower mass, whereas the screen that we replaced had just a single mass.
It is interesting because I think there's probably still a lot of operations out there that could benefit from it, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody that we've replaced so far, we've shown them gains not only in capacity, but we've gained screening efficiency.
Okay.
Plus longevity of the machine. I mean, we've increased the life of it substantially. But just on the other two factors, when you look at doing the efficiency better than what they were getting if we took it, say, from 75% efficient to 90-some% efficient, and then we also did a higher capacity at the same time. I mean, that's just nothing but money for a customer. It's a plus.
That affects, like, I'm guessing, like, even like the power draw that they're using for that equipment as well. So they're getting more out of what they're putting into it.
Yeah, the power draw on our machine is actually the energy that's used to run it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, the energy, actually, we use less horsepower than what the other machine uses. Ironically, we're heavier, but we use less horsepower to drive it.
Okay. How quickly going, like, your company now, what areas are you servicing? Like, are you worldwide?
Yes, we are.
So could you explain a little bit more on how you develop that part of it, like how you're servicing? So you have customers all over the world. So obviously mining is prevalent in so many areas. How has GK developed basically that supply chain to be able to service these different areas?
Well, we're lucky from the standpoint that we've been able to spread out the company. We've got individuals that reside in China. We've actually have a partnership or a representative that works with us in Australia. We actually manufacture equipment in China and Thailand.
Okay.
And we have our European branch. We actually used to have an office in England. And we actually moved that to Germany. Although we still have a few people in England, we have people in England, Germany, and Italy, and do manufacturing in Italy as well.
Okay. Yeah, Italy seems to be, they seem to be well known for the quality of the manufacturing there.
Absolutely. They do a very, very good job. And it's always our personnel that we have that are employees of General Kinematics that are actually overseeing that manufacturing of our equipment and also doing the tuning and adjusting of the machine prior to shipping.
Okay. Touching back on China a little bit, how long have you been manufacturing out of there now?
Quite a while. Geez, probably at least 15 years.
Oh, so that partnership started, that started quite a while ago. So you must have, I'm sure there was like some things you had to work through, but do you get involved with that side of it at all? Or is that usually a different department?
That's a different department. I don't get real in depth with it. I hear things from time to time. The big concern was always, that you would lose your technology if you worked with China. That's not the case. We've been able to maintain that. That's actually, I believe, because we have personnel there and we handle the difficult part of it.
So you have General Kinematics has direct employees working out of that location as well.
Correct.
Okay. So basically with your strategic locations, you're able to service basically all the entire world. So getting into like equipment that's being manufactured in Italy, as an example, are you servicing a lot of like companies in, say, Africa?
South Africa is the biggest area for that. We actually just recently made an acquisition that helped better us in South Africa, I should say.
Okay.
That was kind of a point where we were lacking a little bit, and we just increased that potential.
Oh, what are you able to mention that company's name that you acquired and what like they specialize in?
The company is CYRUS. They're out of Europe. They actually give us a better presence into South Africa as well. But they help us from the standpoint of some other equipment and installations and doing larger projects in that region, in both those regions. We also picked up another company called FICO.
Oh, okay.
They're out of Iowa. And they actually have helped us increase our installation base from the standpoint that they will help us with not only installing the equipment, but in doing work on the buildings and electrical and anything and everything you can imagine. Basically, from doing a brand new project from the ground up.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. It seems has there been a number of acquisitions throughout General Kinematics history, or is this more of a new strategy?
No, this is something new. This is something that we've changed more recently.
Okay.
We did acquire a belt conveyor company back a 3 years ago. But really prior to that, no, we did not do that.
Okay, interesting. Well, wishing you all the success with those new acquisitions. That's pretty exciting to have that happen. And so that's basically in the last year you've had those two new ones, those
Yes.
two new acquisitions.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Going back, I wanted to go back. So you've touched on a lot of really good points. You've been with the company for a long time. Going with the company in actually like close to our studio here, but in British Columbia for Copper Mountain. How did that process evolve when you started working with them?
Or how did it all start?
Yeah, like I know when we talked about it, like when they first came to you, why did they basically come to you at the beginning?
Well, they were having problems because the machine was failing at a rapid rate. They did see us at a show, and that's what they approached us at the show, and we had some discussions there. And then myself and a couple others went to site, and we got to see firsthand the machine that they had in position, what it was doing, what they were trying to get out of it. When they purchased that machine, they had hopes of doing a specific tonnage, and they were falling well short of hitting that tonnage. And still breaking the machine in a very quick time period. So they took a chance in their eyes. They they wanted to do something that was different, unique. They tried us. We came up with some very inviting terms for them. We put the machine in place, and they're very happy that they've made that decision now.
So when they do that. Do you go through the entire process, like from obviously the manufacturing of it, and then do you even go as far as to deliver and install it based on like what's going to be required for that machine?
Yeah, if need be, if they want us to do it, we can do it. Otherwise, a lot of places will do their own install. In this particular case, we were actually on site to help them with the install, albeit they used their own labor to do it.
Right.
But we oversaw it.
You touched on this again. So the going into again that machine, it's an STM-SCREEN, right? I have that right?
Correct.
That's your signature unit. When you get into like the load response, or load responsive, I should say, and you may have touched on this, but just to be clear on that, what does that mean for an operation? Like when they're processing material?
Well, if you use a typical industry standard or what they consider the brute force machine, if you put material on that machine, a brute force machine is driven by pure horsepower. And since you're not able to change that horsepower during running, it's a set horsepower, it's going to run constant all the time. As you add material, it makes the machine heavier. And a certain portion of that material weight becomes effective vibrating weight. And that, in a sense, drives the stroke or vibration level of the machine down. Now, two-mass design is very, very different. It's very, very unique from the standpoint that as you add material to that machine, it actually changes the frequency of the machine. It moves the frequency closer to running speed, and that increases how much vibration goes into it. So the machine, you do not bury it. You will not, if you change from say 2,000 tons per hour to 2,400 tons per hour, it will react and it will handle it. Whereas the brute force machine would actually bury itself and become overloaded at a certain point.
Yeah, I've seen that like working in back when I was working out in like a yard for mining equipment, you would see that like even equipment coming in that had been just completely weighed down with material basically and
Oh, yeah.
stuff's been seized up. The how did this get developed with your company? Like how did this two mass system become so prevalent?
Well, two mass has been around for a long, long time. People just it's not as easy as brute force. Brute force anybody can do. I hate to say it that way, but it's very simplistic, very basic. It's just pure horsepower to drive it. Whereas two mass actually takes some thinking, and you got to design it properly. And our company's been around since 1960, and the owner of our company, or the founder of our company at that time, he's actually the gentleman that brought that from his previous life. He brought that in when he started our company, and that's what he wanted to make primarily, was all two mass equipment with some brute force here and there where needed.
Right. Maybe we can go into that a bit. So that's the founder. So Albert, I'm going to say maybe you can give a little bit more background on Albert Musschoot. Is that right?
It's Musschoot, yes.
Okay. So because I was reading some interesting, you got some interesting pieces and videos on your website regarding like when he started. Are you able to get a little bit of background, like why he thought that was so important as well?
The development of the two mass equipment?
Yeah, just and how he kind of like how he went from like the previous company to basically starting General Kinematics.
Sure. Albert Musschoot was a brilliant engineer. He came out of MIT. He was very smart. He liked to think of himself as an inventor more so than an engineer. And so he worked with Bob Carrier and actually developed a couple of patents with him. And that company decided that it was going to sell out. And so Albert decided to leave there. And actually, Bob Carrier actually instructed him. He said, you probably want to move on, and why don't you start your own company? And so he did. That was the birth of General Kinematics. He brought it, and we were just in a little store shop in downtown Barrington, Illinois, and that's where he started General Kinematics. And it has grown from that to now we have a 260,000 square foot manufacturing facility, worldwide presence, engineering, sales, everything.
Yeah, you had mentioned something about like going, because that's pretty fascinating that he actually like Bob Carrier, who he's working with, said basically go out. Like he obviously saw something in Albert. You had an opportunity to work alongside Albert, right, for many years. Like what was that? What were some of the lessons you learned from him, like in that space?
Man, I learned a lot. He was brilliant. He was almost scary smart. He was. I got to work with him for probably about 12 to 15 years before he passed away. And the one thing that really stands out in my head was a machine that we were in development at that time. I got to work on personally with him, called a hula hopper. And it was basically a vibrating bin shaker. And so I got to work on that with him personally. And that was an awakening for me because I was very young at the time. And he almost scared me. He was so smart, and the ideas he would come up with, and the thoughts he would have.
When you say like it was an awakening, because that's like, what does a hula hopper do? I want to get into that. That sounds a little bit like what made it so unique, like his view of that equipment.
Well, at that time, I mean, there's certain machines that are used to activate material within bins or hoppers. And he thought that if he could make a round machine rather than a rectangular machine that went all the way around the hopper, that it would do a better job.
Oh, okay.
So we actually did that, and it worked well. But we found subsequently later on, we found another machine that we developed that would actually work a little better.
Oh, I see. So, but that almost started the process, though.
Yes. One leads to another. So
Yeah. Touching on that, actually, so you have had customers that have come to you basically with they're basically looking for a type of, like, it's probably equipment that you have, like if it's a screen or I just want to look here, like, because you've got like you've got vibrating feeders, you've got the screening solutions. You've had customers that have come to you and basically I'm trying to word it properly, but you kind of work with them almost as they're needing like a specific solution. How did that get started? Like that process? Because it seems very hands-on with the customers and like basically acknowledging what they need is unique.
yeah, I mean, the customer knows what he wants. We don't, until we get in there, we can kind of see what's happening and what's not happening. But the customer, you want him to lead you to what is he really after? What is the problem? Is it simple maintenance issues that they're seeing on the machine? Or is it not screening properly? Is it not moving the material from point A to point B properly? So you don't know that until you physically see it and you talk to him and you find out where is his pain point. What is causing him the headaches?
Right. And have you, I'm trying to, there was an article on your website, and will you actually have customers come into your manufacturing facility during the process as you sort of like basically make a customized unit for that customer? Like, is it that hands-on?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
We will do that. Don't do it in every application, but whenever a customer wants to come to our facility, we always invite them. We're more than happy to do that. I mean, we make standard equipment, but we also, the huge majority of our business is custom equipment. So we will fit into any footprint that is possible and do whatever we can is in match what the customer's needs are, not what we want to do or pull one out of a catalog that's a style 1, 2, or 3. We want to make it unique for him.
So in getting into that, like, I know you had a project for handling iron ore, and so what were they trying to do there with that customer?
That was a big customer in Western Australia that we're working with, and they were having problems. The machines that they built their plant around were designed to do a certain tonnage. Their target was 3,600 tons per hour. They were not achieving that. They were falling well short of the capacity that they wanted. They were not screening efficiently, even at a lower reduced capacity. And they were only machines that those would actually last almost 2 years. And then they would have failures and have to, rebuild the machines. So our objective was to go in there and do what the customer wanted to do initially. And that was the 3,600 tons per hour. But because they designed the plant all around a certain size machine, we had to make that size machine. And luckily with our technology, it gave us that edge. It gave us the capacity that we needed. We put a few extra unique things into the design. We were able to hit the capacity. We hit it no problem. We actually increased the efficiency of the screen dramatically. We also increased the dewatering because they spray the material with water. We actually reduced how much water was coming off the end quite a bit, which is huge. You don't want that in your overs. And then, the machines have been in there that was 2016 they were put in. So they've been in there roughly 5 years now, and they're still in operation.
That's incredible. So that process from start to finish, how long did it take you to design that unit?
Not that long. It's we can build off our standard platform and to make it fit into any unique size. That's not that issue. But the whole mindset behind when you first meet a customer to when you actually get to sell, can take a year, can take 2 years.
Right.
There's especially in greenfield operations where it's brand new, those can take 2 to 3 years.
So getting into, like, with these projects, like you mentioned a couple case studies, one with Copper Mountain, the other with the iron ore processing. So getting into those for the, why does it have an advantage over brute force? Like, especially like, because it seems like there's so many failures in the brute force equipment.
Yeah, brute force equipment, because it's driven by pure horsepower, it requires very large wheels, eccentric wheels, to drive that machine. So the problem is that because there's such large wheels, they go up when they bring them up to speed, and when they turn off the machine and bring them down from speed, it takes a period of time for that to happen. Well, when that occurs, it actually goes into the frequency of the isolation springs. So at startup, it'll lock on the isolation frequency for a period of time and then finally get up to speed. And then at shutdown, it'll actually lock on the frequency of the isolation for quite a period of time. When that happens, when it locks on that frequency, the entire body of the machine will actually twist. It'll actually corner to corner, you'll see rotation, you'll see twist. So you'll see a lot of failures in the sidewall of brute force equipment and on the cross beams in brute force equipment. Now on two-mast design, you don't see that happen because two-mast takes a lot lower horsepower. It's much smaller wheels that are driving that force, and we're driving it through a natural frequency. So we don't require pure horsepower for that machine to operate properly. So because the wheels are small, they come up to speed almost instantly. It's a matter of a couple of seconds, they're up to speed. And when they come down, you can actually, if you want, and you put a variable frequency drive on it, you can actually plug stop a two-mast machine where you can literally stop it cold and see nothing at shutdown. But even at a normal shutdown, you see very little bounce. You see absolutely no twisting or torsional rotation in the body of the machine. So that's where the longevity comes. So that's why you see a brute force machine failing rapidly and a two-mast not.
So anybody that's in operation right now that has one of these brute force units, take a look at it, because you might be able to connect with General Kinematics, and you might be able to basically offer something that's going to last longer, be more efficient, and not have as much basically parts failure. Because even the wheels, I wanted to touch on that. When you're saying the wheels get going, what unit is that on? Do you use that in a lot of your equipment as well? Like, you've got small wheels, you said, that can kind of fire right away.
Yeah, because, well, brute force equipment, you actually always see the motor mounted separate from the unit.
Yeah.
And it's driven from a belt through a shaft that has eccentric weights on it. On two-masts, we actually put the motors right on the machine. And on the ends of the motor, there's actually little offset wheels that fan out from each other to increase or decrease how much wheel force you put into it. And the wheels are small. In comparison, they're very small in comparison to the brute force machines.
Okay. We'll get into the next segment. Can be a bit of fun. You touched on working with Albert Musschoot a little bit. How did you get into this? Like, what is your background?
Well, I've been here forever. I've been here for August will be 45 years.
Okay.
I came into General Kinematics in 1976, and I started in engineering. I spent 30 years, right about 30 years in engineering. With the last 5 or 6 of that, I was an engineering group manager. And then I moved from there to a sales role. I want to try something different. I'd been designing the equipment for 30 years, so now it was time to make a change and travel a little bit more. And so I moved to the sales role and actually started in the southeastern territory of the United States was my target area. And then I moved from there to the whole bottom of the United States, and then the western half of the United States. And then moved from that lastly to saying, well, I'm just going to concentrate on mining. And do just mining and nothing else. I was actually, prior to that, I was handling all industries, mining being one of those.
Oh, I see.
But I was doing the foundry and recycling and food and chemical. I was doing everything at that point.
So in the sales role, when you started focusing on the mining itself, what were some what were some things you learned along the way doing that? Like, was that quite a change?
Doing just mining?
Yeah, because you said you were in all the industries and then you switched, right?
So I was doing a little bit of mining all along. Actually, when I was in engineering, I was also doing mining. So, I've been around the mining equipment for quite a period of time, even prior to getting into sales. And then when I was doing the Western Territory, I was doing a lot of work in the mining. But changing from all industries to one, it's nice because you can be more focused.
Right.
You don't have to be jack of all trades, master of none. You can try and be master of one if possible.
Yeah. And going in, you've been with GK for so many years. What has the transition been like? Like, is the company still a family-owned business?
Yes, it is. We're on the third generation at this point. So when I started, it was with the Albert Musschoot, basically the grandfather of Tom Musschoot, who is currently the president of General Kinematics. And even Tom's father, Paul Musschoot, is still with the company. He's COO of the company, and he's here. He was actually just here just a little while ago outside the office where I'm sitting.
Okay.
And he's in here quite often, and he really loves to have his hands in on the manufacturing end of things. He's also a degreed engineer.
Oh, okay.
So he likes it, but that's his big interest. It seems to be is the manufacturing side. He really loves to tinker with that and see what's going on out in the shop.
Touching on that again, because you've been there. What do you see as how do you be successful like in a company for doing these transitions, like multiple transitions, especially when it's within a family? How have you seen that? How has that been so successful?
It's actually worked out well. It was a tough transition going from the founder to his son because it was not a planned change at that point. Albert had a automobile accident, which ended, turned into his passing away.
I see.
And so Paul had it basically thrown at him at that point, albeit he had been with the company for a period of time. He dabbled more on the manufacturing end than he did the sales and engineering end. So it was a little tough at that point, but we found our way through it. He found his way through it and grew from it. When he had the idea of Tom taking over the company and being president of the company, Tom kind of went through a lot more rigors than Paul did, where he actually was put into almost every department in the company for a period of time.
Oh, okay.
To learn with the engineers and learn with the salesmen and learn with the parts people. And so he got to see quite a bit of it prior to ever taking the reins of the company.
That's a really interesting, going into every department, that makes a lot of sense because you basically see the entire operation instead of just having tunnel vision in one little area.
Right.
For you, I don't know if you can answer this specifically, but I know you'd mentioned about doing the hopper. But has there been any like interesting or like lessons that you've learned along the way that you think are kind of important to share?
Well, I think the thing that I've learned the most is that everything here is unique. I want to think of it as each machine is a prototype. When we're doing custom equipment, everything's a one-off. I mentioned we do have some standards. We do that as well. But the thing I've enjoyed the most about it is that every single job you come across, because you're working with the customer, you're trying to fit into a certain location, you're trying to do a very unique job that's not standard, that job, that you're designing the machine around that. So that's the thing I've enjoyed the most with actually being able to, you're always doing something different. It's not just repeating the same machine over and over again. It's always something a little bit different.
Well, that has been just a ton of information for me personally, and hopefully for the audience too. Derek, thank you so much for joining, and it's been great information. Could you quickly just give us a rundown of where we can find you and General Kinematics?
Oh, basically, the easiest way is to contact us on our website. It's generalkinematics.com, and you can look up myself. If you're looking in the mining industry, you can contact anybody through that portal. But it actually breaks it down by industry. So if you're looking for a specific industry, you can do that. If you're looking for mining, you got me.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again. And so, Gowdy, that was I learned a ton. So
that was a lot of information.
Yeah, it was. I think it'll be. I guess you can tell everybody where to find us.
Yeah, absolutely. First up, don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got 2 episodes a week on there, and more coming. Hopefully 3, then 4, then 5. Right, Rory?
Exactly. One a day every day.
No, but definitely please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also contact us if you'd like to be part of the show. info@crownsman.com. It can be either Mining Now, Crownsman Energy, or The Crownsman Show. Also, if you'd like to recommend someone, please do so. Again, info@crownsman.com. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Alrighty. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Okay. Thank you.